The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council gleamed with bioluminescent architecture, its crystalline walls pulsing with the colors of 1,000 worlds. Representatives from across the galaxy gathered here, the proud Zenthri with their iridescent scales, the towering Krillian warriors, the ancient wisdom keepers of Mothar. And then there was Nancy, sitting alone at the Firthas table from the Central Days. She adjusted her standard-issue human diplomat uniform, acutely aware of the whispers rippling through the hall. In a room filled with beings who could manipulate gravity, communicate through quantum entanglement, or live for millennia, Nancy was painfully ordinary. Just another human, just another representative from that upstart species that had barely left their solar system. To centuries ago, look at the human, hissed a Zenthri delegate, his translator rendering the words into crisp English. They let anyone into the council these days. Laughter echoed from nearby tables. Nancy kept her eyes on her datapad, pretending to review documents she'd already memorized. This was her third council session, and each one felt the same, a masterclass in humiliation. The Krillian to her left, a massive being with forearms and battle scars that told stories of conquered worlds, didn't even acknowledge her existence. When she'd tried to introduce herself on the first day, he'd simply looked through her as if she were transparent. "The entertainment has arrived," announced a melodious voice. Nancy looked up to see the Mothar elder gliding toward the central stage, her translucent wings catching the light. Today's supplicant seeks council approval for mining rights in the Deneb sector. Nancy's heart sank. That was Parker's mission. Her partner was somewhere in this hall, about to present humanity's case for resource extraction rights that every other species seemed to obtain with ease, but which humans had been denied 17 times. Parker walked onto the stage with the quiet confidence Nancy had always admired. His dark hair was neatly combed, his presentation materials perfectly organized. He looked every bit the professional diplomat humanity needed him to be. "Honored Council," Parker began, his voice steady despite the 1,000 eyes upon him. "Humanity requests denied," interrupted the Krillian Supreme Commander before Parker could finish his second sentence. "Humans lack the technological sophistication to safely extract resources from Deneb's asteroid field." "Next supplicant." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the hall. Nancy's hands clenched beneath the table. Parker didn't move. "Commander, if I may present our safety protocols." "You may not," the commander rumbled. "Humanity has presented 18 proposals. All have demonstrated the same fundamental flaw. You are children playing with tools meant for adults." More laughter. Nancy saw Parker's jaw tighten, but he maintained his composure. "Then perhaps," Parker said carefully, "the council might explain what threshold humanity must reach to be considered mature enough." The question hung in the air. The Mothar elder's wings fluttered with what might have been amusement. "The same threshold every species must reach, human. Prove you deserve to sit among us." "And how?" Nancy found herself saying, surprising herself as much as anyone. "Does one prove that?" Every being in the hall turned to look at her. Nancy stood slowly, her legs trembling, but her voice growing stronger. "We followed every protocol, met every technical requirement, demonstrated peaceful intent across 100 years of space exploration. What more do you want?" The Zenthri delegate who'd mocked her earlier slithered forward. "What we want, little human, is for you to understand your place. You are the youngest species in this council, the least accomplished, the most forgettable." Nancy felt heat rising in her cheeks, but before she could respond, a new presence entered the hall. The temperature seemed to drop 10 degrees. Conversations died mid-sentence. Even the bioluminescent walls seemed to dim in response to the figure that materialized in the doorway. The Leopard. That's what the galaxy called her supreme arbiter, Kalia of the first civilization. The species so ancient that they'd been exploring stars when most council members were still single-celled organisms. The Leopards were legendary, mysterious, and terrifyingly powerful. They attended council sessions perhaps once every 50 years. And this one was walking directly toward Nancy. Kalia moved with predatory grace, her spotted fur catching the light, her golden eyes fixed on Nancy with an intensity that made breathing difficult. The arbiter stood nearly 8 feet tall, her digitigrade legs carrying her across the hall in absolute silence. Nancy's mind raced. Had she violated some protocol she didn't know existed? Was this how humanity's council membership ended, not with a vote, but with whatever judgment this ancient being was about to render? Kalia reached Nancy's table and, without a word, pulled out the chair beside her and sat down. The hall erupted in shocked whispers. A leopard, sitting with a human nobody. At the lowest table in the room. "Continue, young Parker," Kalia said, her voice like distant thunder. "Present your proposal. I find myself interested in what you have to say." Parker, to his credit, recovered quickly. He launched into his presentation with renewed vigor, detailing humanity's mining techniques, safety protocols, and resource distribution plans. The council, now unable to dismiss him without potentially offending the leopard, actually listened. Nancy sat rigid in her chair, hyper-aware of the being beside her. Kalia's tail swished lazily, but her attention never wavered from Parker's presentation. When Parker finished, the hall was silent. "The proposal is sound," Kalia announced. "Humanity has met every requirement set before them. I vote to approve." The Mothar Elder's wings stilled completely. "Supreme Arbiter, surely, are you questioning my judgment?" Kalia's voice remained calm, but something dangerous flickered in those golden eyes. "No, of course not. But then acknowledge that humanity has been denied not for lack of merit, but for lack of respect. They are young, yes, but youth is not weakness. It is potential." Kalia turned to Nancy, and for the first time, smiled an expression both terrifying and oddly warm. "Your species reminds me of mine long ago, dismissed by those who could not see past their own prejudices. But you persist. You endure. You refuse to accept that no is your final answer." She stood, addressing the entire council now. "Humanity's proposal is approved, and I suggest strongly that this council reconsider how it treats its youngest members. After all, we were all nobody once." With that, the leopard left as silently as she'd arrived, but not before placing one massive paw on Nancy's shoulder, a gesture that would be analyzed and discussed across the galaxy for years to come. Parker caught Nancy's eye from the stage, his expression mixing shock with triumph. The Krillian commander sat in stunned silence. The Zenthri delegate suddenly found his datapad fascinating. Nancy allowed herself a small smile. Maybe humanity was nobody in the eyes of the galactic elite, but today, they'd learned that even nobodies could sit among the stars.